So we're going to test the fuel pressure on a 1.8 liter 2002 Sentra. Is come over to the on your dash. I'm going to pull this down, and then there's all your fuses. And it's got a fuse puller right there in the middle, and then these are spares. There's three right there. So you want to find your chart on the back of this, and there's the spare fuses right there. So you want to find the fuel pump, which is this one right here. So it's bottom row, third over. So you want to get your fuse puller and pull out the 15 amp pull out the 15 amp fuse. I'll put it in here like this. And then you want to start the car. We'll start up and we'll run for maybe 10 or 15 seconds, and after it dies, crank it about 2 or 3 more times. Just make sure you get all the pressure out. I'll try it again just to make sure. Yep. Just cranks over. Rags. And you'll need this type of fitting to test the fuel pressure. It's got a Schrader valve to screw the fuel pressure gauge into. Put a rag underneath the fuel line to catch anything that drips. 10 millimeter. Tight. This works good for radiator hoses too. Break them loose by twisting them back and forth. It's coming off little by little. There'll still be a little bit of fuel in there, so you want to catch it with a rag. So then you want to put this clamp on there, and think this is 1/4 inch fuel line. So I swapped out the 1/4 inch fuel line for 3/8. That seems to be what it is. So before I hook the gauge up, I'm going to test it and see if I have any leaks. Don't forget to put the fuse back in. Looks good, no leaks. So now we're going to hook up the gauge, and we should see around 51 psi. Actually, I should have probably done this. I think I'm going to release the pressure first. GM products have a Schrader valve just like this it's on the end of the fuel rail, and you just screw this on to the end. And I did it once without releasing pressure, and it squirted until it for a second, when it was depressing the valve, the Schrader valve, it did spray a little bit of gas out. See? But if it's under pressure, it's really, there's no pressure in there. So if you had a lot of pressure, it's going to squirt it all over the engine compartment. So hopefully we should see 51 pounds. That's low. It's only about 39. Could be the fuel regulator. So watch what happens when I disconnect the vacuum line to the regulator. So what I got now is I got a vacuum pump. So I'm going to hook this end up to the regulator to simulate the vacuum in the manifold. What happens when the vacuum drops, I guess the car is accelerating, so it probably commands less fuel through the rail. And so I got these, tell me I lost them all. Oh, I got these to plug the port that the fuel regulator goes to. So what I did is, let me put it back on. This goes to the fuel regulator, so I unplugged it. Then I'm going to plug this cap. Plug that on there like that. See, this goes to the regulator. It looks kind of loose. That'd be something if it was just a tube. Let me look at this tube. in it. So it's, I think it's on there tight enough. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna connect this to the vacuum pump. It's got a whole bunch of different adapters and stuff like that. And there's nothing in there that really adapted from one side, from the tube, this to my vacuum pump, but it did have an adapter that fit on the pump. I mean on the, there's the regulator right there. So it did fit, it fits on the regulator. So let me try and see what happens. So I'm putting a vacuum on it. It's not. I think it's two-part. I think it's the hose, and I think it's unless this is leaking. No, it's not leaking. This would show it if it was leaking. So I'm putting a. So that's millimeters of mercury. See it right down there in the corner. I think it's like 2 or 3 psi. I did the math one time. It's not getting lower. It should so I think I found the culprit. I think it's a bad fuel regulator. Part of it's the vacuum hose going to the regulator, because now it's higher, but when I apply a vacuum to the regulator, it doesn't drop. It just stays at what it is now. 40, was it 42? About 45. Pressure again and put the fuse back in, restart it. Now it only goes up to 20 psi. So I pinched off the return fuel line, and the pressure went higher, and it stayed higher. Let's see if I can. So I pinched off the pressure and it went up to 55. So now it's up to almost 60. And it's staying there. And that's the vacuum manifold. I think it's something wrong with the fuel regulator. There you have it. It's a puzzle.